Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 203 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we work on making fiberglass boards. Enjoy. Well, let's double check this for anything else we might need. Now that we have rubber, we can do the insulated wire. Of course, we've done transistors before and electronics components before. And the integrated electronics are basically the same thing. So there's not too much there. Really now, it's just the superior circuit boards, which are going to require fiberglass boards. And we can actually just build that on this line here so we have an exact number. But it looks like it's only going to need... Is that right? That must be. Just one assembling machine for all of this, which needs glass fiber and liquid resin. The glass fiber comes from molten glass, which means we probably can just hook it up to our existing setup. We don't really need to build this again just to do the same thing. We can just kind of hook it off to the side, and there really isn't any room for a train station there. But it's also not that big a deal just to, you know, send it all the way down here to a new station. But do we want to? Do we need those glass fibers for anything? Because if we only need them for one thing, then putting it on a train might be overkill. So glass fiber goes into fiberglass boards. So we don't need a train. And then fiberglass boards, they do go into some stuff. You know, blue circuits and the two other tiers of the modules as well. So that could go on a train because it has two different locations to go to. And the number is kind of high. I was kind of wondering why we didn't need very many, but because we have this set up for 10.5 a second, but then we only need 7.5 of input because of productivity modules. And then of those 7.5, we only need 5.36 because of productivity modules. So that's why I was getting confused, because it seems like such a low number, but that's the power of multiple tiers of productivity modules affecting every level of production. So only need glass fibers for this. And then the liquid resin, which I believe has two different ways of making it, either with chemicals or with trees. I'm surprised I don't have the natural way in here, but we might as well take this opportunity to grab them. I guess it's because fermentation process wasn't researched, and it's that one thing that was 4% research, so anybody that was annoyed by that, you can now rejoice, it will be researched. But it gives us some options, basically, to make fermentation base from corn or fruits. And then you can process that fermentation base into compost and ethanol. So that's a natural way of making ethanol gas or acetic acid. And then you can make ethylene from that ethanol gas if you want to. This also gives us the ability to do bioplastics as well. But let's just go down the resin tree. I don't think we're going to need to do this, but the process is similar to with rubber, where this gives you an opportunity to make temperate tree seeds and then grow those trees, and you'll get some bioresin, which then can be processed into regular resin in addition to ethanol gas, which you can make using those other methods, or you can mine it. And this is also a way of more efficiently using regular resin to make liquid resin. And then you can also turn that liquid resin into the regular resin as well. And then the tier 2, you add fertilizer to increase your production. And then you have the opportunity to make a straight up temperate tree if you want to, which is useful if you have no temperate trees in your inventory. You can just create them from nothing. Or if you don't want to deal with having extra trees left over, extra wood trees I should say, you can just make the straight resin trees. And the last one is you add carbon dioxide to the mix to get a higher output of seeds. And you can add fertilizer to get a higher output of resin from the regular method. So those are all the ways. Might as well research them since it's kind of relevant, and we're starting to at least cover and consider the natural ways of making things, even if we end up not doing it. I was thinking we could use this setup here, but it's actually making plastic, not resin. I feel like this is the kind of thing we must be making somewhere. And the factory is getting big enough to where it's hard to find them. And I'm having trouble remembering what has been done at this point, but there we go. I knew we'd done it. And this looks like the chemical way of doing it. And actually, that's another advantage of not researching every single thing, is you can kind of remind yourself what you have and haven't done based on, well, I haven't researched it, so I must not be making it that way. But we researched the chemical way, and we're definitely doing it. And we needed to do that in order to make the whiteboards. So this is an excellent location to attach onto this, and we could improve the production of this if necessary. I mean, we certainly could upgrade the machines now, but also how often does it actually run? So I kind of want to just hook onto it and just see how it works. And then if it's too slow, then we can upgrade it. But that already makes the resin. So then we would just need the glass fibers, and actually we need them in very small quantities because it's in a roll. We don't have to chop them up, but it's been densified by 4 times because it's in that roll. So as a result, that's a very drone-worthy number. Because that's a long belt to send up here. But that would save us having to deal with trains. So we can just pull off, and hey, it's actually running right now, because I guess we do need a lot of glass, but we can pull off the glass, the liquid glass anyway, and, you know, pull it over here somewhere, and make this, and we grab that. It's made in a strand casting machine. We need just the one. And it'll get an efficiency module. And then we have a drone path down here. So we just kind of go down there, and then the drone would take its path however it wants to. It's kind of a long way to go, but whatever. That's what things that aren't us are for, is making things easier. So it would come down here, send the item up, and then we would just have our one machine that we'd need right here, making the fiberglass boards. And then at that point, the number's a little higher, plus we have this other stuff on trains, so we'd have to put an additional train in here. It'd be kind of annoying, but we certainly could. It's very weird setup right here, in part because the bus was here. Now that it's not, we might not have to keep committing to this, but I also kind of want to, because I don't want to have to move it around. And there's definitely room for one more parking spot in here. We'd have to move some of this, but it would fit. And then that would be the supply of those boards. So, it seems good. And how are we doing on rubber here? We have 140 of them. Pretty good. Do we actually need those insulated wires for anything? Not besides the green and red wires quite yet. We don't have to worry about the fact that this production rate is kind of slow for now. I was noticing we're making residuals. Oil residuals. One potential use of it is just making residual gas. We don't have to use all of it, but I mean, this is basically at the minimum point. But I guess the minimum point is okay because anything extra is just being used to make these blocks. So it's basically dumping it. It's when this hits to 0 that it would be a problem. And all those blocks are just getting burned. They're one of our primary methods of power. And we're quite okay. So I was thinking maybe we can do something with those oil residuals, but I don't think we're at that point yet. So we need one strand casting machine. So I came back all the way out here to get it. And we are going to need train stuff. We did put it in here, so we'll have to wait on the bots to actually deliver the stuff. But they have the capacity to do so. So we'll do the teleport. Because it's actually pretty close to where we need to be. I recognize that this is not ideal for the situation. But there's so many items in here. Something like this, I think. Well, here's the thing. We don't have to have 4 trains parked here. We would only need 4 trains if all 4 of these were running at the same time. So, this is kind of a situation where LTN can allow you to be a little lazy. But it's also not necessarily lazy because you don't have to have 1 train for every single thing you would ever need. Because the whole point of LTN is that the trains aren't attached to their stations. So, only in certain situations would not having 4 be a problem, and it would only be a small delay. It wouldn't actually be a problem. So, I think we can stick with this. So now let's go up here to where glass is being made. Let's see, the belt would probably just kind of come in through here. And it's going to be a bit of a mess with our inventory here, but it'd be kind of like that, and I guess it would be going the other way. So we need a strain caster in here, and the super hyper realistic thing of moving molten glass around. Let's see, these are connected to 2 halves. Well, in that sense, we probably don't need to hook it up to both, because we're just not going to need very much glass. Yeah, it's very small. So we can just kind of leech off of this side, and it is what it is. It won't be running at full efficiency, but it doesn't need to. I don't know, let's just put it in there. We want our glass fibers. And hook that up, and it's already going. And it can't take a module. Can we do better than the tier 1s? Oh yeah, we can. Okay, and yeah, we need to do our logistic train stop there, which we can make with our inventory. Boom. Tier 2. Use an efficiency. And that belt is over there, so we can just kind of go straight down, and actually don't even need a red belt for this, but it's what I have in my inventory. Then again, we're probably in range of bots. Right. Actually, yes. So they can help here. Okay, we can just use 1 inserter then, because we don't have very much throughput. It just goes straight down. I'll just keep going in, and this one is a little misaligned, but that's okay. Let's see. I think this will work. And this can be a buffer as well. Hey, finally, another load of silicon nitride. We'll let this fill up to its maximum. It's not that much stuff, but our factory's kind of at the point now where we can do this, but then again, it does make bots picking things up more difficult, but buffers are generally better than not having them, especially since it's something we basically can make infinitely here. So it has to have 1 drone's worth, and it can turn on. And are the robots on the way? Yep. And it's already filled up that part of the belt, so that much is working. Let's see, the resin is up here. This space is filled up a little bit. It would actually probably be a little cleaner if we just move the resin, so we don't have to have a belt kind of fighting with all this area here. When the place it would want to be would be right here. And looks like what everything else is doing is something like this, but maybe pick things up so it's just not running on top of itself. Probably don't need a red belt here, but everything else is red, so we could potentially do something like this, where we have a request depot right here asking for those fibers, and we'll put 1 in there. And then we need our 1 assembly machine with our productivity modules in there. And we actually should probably check this. Huh. It says we can't use them here, but I bet if we change the recipe, it's gonna give them back to us. Yeah. So yeah. Efficiencies. And a red inserter here. And we'll do on the near side here as well. So then we just need to get the resin in there, and then the drones will send in the coils. They'll just turn them into the boards, and then the boards will be sent down to a train because the quantity is higher. And they have multiple locations to go to. And looks like we can put them kind of along here. So, are these two sides connected? No, but do they need to be? Probably not. Well, we need 53 per second. So, what does this make? Quite a bit. But we're probably going to need both sides for this. So, we shall connect them. And then we can go straight down. And they don't have to be placed like this, but I do kind of want to try to line them up because they don't jump two distances. So I'll just kind of do this just so it's fairly consistent, even though we have different pipe types in here. So there we go. Resin's in there. I notice these stations do not have the limiters for the trains. But it could just be because supply is not an issue on this side, but why fix it if it isn't broken? So if it works for now, we'll just keep doing it. Fiberglass board load. And it looks like we also need a combinator in here. And these are set up because these are actually the older trains still. I haven't replaced them. Suppose I should, now that they're not running. So we want to put it on the board network, which it is, except we want these to be provide threshold of 60, or 1/4 of the train. Now, inventory's too full. We need some trains. Get rid of the junk ones that are in our inventory already. Grab some nice ones. 3 trains, and we're going to need 12 cars. There we go. And actually, look at that. Just as we set that up, we're starting to see the boards get in here. We may want to put some more drones in here, just to make sure there's no hiccups in production. But that's looking good. Looks like these are already set for the new train sizes. So everything else should be good. Now we have our boards. So that should be all of the components necessary to work on this. Let's see, what did we send for? Okay, just basic stuff. Now we need the space. And we already kind of discussed the idea of turning this bus, and that does seem like the best option to do here. So we're going to need a whole ton of landfill to take care of this. And we are near where it would normally be. It's just right down here. We'll probably want to use all 20,000 of it. Let's put some chests here just for convenience. Turn off logistics. So we can dump all our stuff in there except for boosters so we can fly. Then we'll grab all of that landfill. And we're probably going to want a similar amount of concrete here too. Since if we're placing landfill down, we'll want to put concrete over the dirt. And let's go back. It is nice to be able to teleport. We do need to kind of decide how big we want to make this. We can kind of judge it in size by just sort of grabbing this and find a stereotypical section. How about this? And whatever, we're not actually going to build it. So this kind of gives us an idea of size. We don't want to smash it in there too tight, but we also don't want it to be too high because of all of the landfill requirement. And it seems like just starting the landfill like right up there ought to work well, since it's an easy enough landmark to see. And we can just go from here. Of course, there's going to be Lots of fish in the way. And that landfill's gonna be gone so fast. And I hate it when I bump something and then the landfill is one square too high. There it goes again. Yay. Let's see, we basically want to take this all the way to at least right here. So maybe where those train tracks are. And we'll fix all these holes later. So maybe something like this. Stop bumping me. I want everything to be straight. So yeah, that ought to be good. So now we can use the deconstruction planner to really help out here, and might as well go all the way to the end. There's a chest in here. I do recall placing a chest here a long time ago. Where is it? Oh, right there. I guess there's some wood in there. How much? 2.7k. Might as well clear cut this whole thing. The bots will do what they can when they can. For now, it's just going to be us, though. We're kind of in the frontier a little bit. The ocean frontier. Hopefully our production of stone in order to make landfill is fairly quick. I know the landfill machines are fast. It's just producing all of that stone is not. And now we need more. Looks like science production's going pretty well, so we should probably check on these gases here and see if rubber's being produced. And it is. Slowly but reliably. Looks like we're actually building up the methane gas. That's interesting. Means there's probably merit to sending it the other direction towards crystals, but we produce crystals so rarely that relying on this for anything is probably not worth it. Like, I don't even remember what this is for. Okay, it's to make the paste. And I think the paste goes down here. Okay, so we're going to produce very little gas products that way. Definitely the primary way is through here. So it is what it is. We're going to have a little bit of extra, but then it'll just burn off. That's fine. Overall, it's not producing much, but we have 528 rubber so far, and it's not like it needs very much. So that should be plenty in the long run. Looks like I forgot to place the concrete down, but I know somewhere where we need some. Right here. We can go flying to make it go super fast. Near. Try to keep up with me now, bots. You can't place them this fast. Well, there's a disadvantage of going that fast. Clearly. I did see some shooting. Have they fixed these gathering turrets yet? Oh, interesting. Well, I can help out. I don't know, they might be. I'm not seeing a bunch of orbs. But then again, there is one right there that it's not trying to get. And it is in range, so I don't know. So we got a little bit more to place. And it's gone. We can teleport back. Well, it's buzzing through, and actually, that's interesting to see. All of this is running, which means we're trying to produce oxygen gas again. Which makes sense. But what that means is there's room in here for the nitrogen. And actually, it looks like it all caught up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Our factory is back to normal when it comes to oxygen. Which is kind of what I figured, since we're definitely using way more oxygen than we are passively producing. And on all that time, we have 3,000. Yay. It seems like these belts are way too slow for the amount of stuff that these machines can make. Well, it says 30. Oh, I see. It's waiting for us to have an excess of stone or slag. Because otherwise we would just destroy the factory. So that's what's happening. It's just waiting for what we have to come in. And it can only make it so fast. Well, that's a problem. Because there's a lot of landfill we still need. Well, I don't know if we even want a limiter there at all. Well, we kind of need a limiter in the sense where we want this to have room for extras. But, I don't know, we haven't been using that much landfill in the grand scheme of things. This is kind of our first major use of it. So it's probably worth just letting the system run as it is. And actually it's a good thing that we're doing this research. So the system can run. And this is empty because it's being given a priority. Because we have a priority set up here. So it's running what it can. Because most of it's just going straight through here. So it's working. None of them are overloaded on any given resource, which is what we want to see. They're all just producing them normally. We got some waiting to do, unfortunately. If it gets too bad, I'll just skip through it so you don't have to deal with it. We do have a mud surplus. Not very much mud surplus because we're using it for trees. But we have some. And actually, just trying to think of stuff we can do while we're waiting. One thing we can do is improve the efficiency of the saw blades. So let's see if we have access to the better tier of wood chopping. It doesn't look like it. But we can research it. We haven't because we haven't needed the better trees. But it gives you the opportunity of using fertilizer to increase the yield on your seeds. And you can create any of the rare trees by random by using plant life samples. And then you can speed up the production of trees. But the main thing I was thinking of here is that it gives us access to crystal tipped saw blades, which we can make with one of those harmonic crystal splinters that we have. So the main thing there is that we have a 95% chance of getting a saw blade back. Where right now, it's a 90%. So that may not seem like much, 5%, but that's actually doubling the efficiency of the blades. So they only get used up half of the time. So we will be using crystal splinters. However, they are an unlimited resource because we're growing them from fish. And they are saving a tiny bit of iron. So that seems worth doing. Unfortunately, we've got so much research here, but I think the big one are these cannon shells, because then this other stuff is all kind of fast. So let's get rid of those shells for a second, so we can hit this. And we can't get this next tier because of all that other stuff. And hopefully that comes around pretty quick, and then we can go down there and, you know, it's a small thing we can do. But in Factorio, whenever you're in a situation where you're waiting for something, you always want to find something to do. And waiting is bad in Factorio. It's not something you ever should be doing. Of course, you would think, how can we improve efficiency? And I saw there was some things we can pick up. Potentially take some time there, but you know, how could we improve efficiency of stone? It's like, well, we really can't, because stone is a byproduct of other things, so we only have so much of it, and we're using it all already, so the best that we can do with stone is just to build things, research things. So there's really not a lot we can do for stone production. But what we can do is just run around the factory and look for little things, because the thing about little things is by the time you're done fixing the little things, they ended up not being little anymore because they took a lot of time. So if you're looking to spend time on something, finding little things around your factory that you can improve on is a good idea. And that's kind of what those saw blades are. It's like it's not really that meaningful of a improvement because it's not like we're using that many iron plates per saw blade. But it's something that we can do, and we already have the technology built in with the crystal splinters, so why not? Because there's really no reason starting on this next section of the bus until we actually have all of this stuff down. Because I really don't want to be building the setup somewhere else, and then what? There's nowhere to put it. So, and I certainly don't want to place it down and then have to move it later. So there went all the landfill. It disappeared real fast. So let's teleport back there. And it looks like the research is happening fairly quickly, so we probably won't have to wait too long for that to come up on the queue. But looks like there's some stuff here that can be fixed, although if I pick that up, robots won't do anything because our inventory is disabled. I have to stand exactly on it. I certainly don't want to go around the factory upgrading machines because that's not really necessary. 500. Yay. Oh, I think we can turn on the personal logistics, but not quite yet. Let's get all that stuff out of there. And there we go. And that's the end of this episode. On the next one, we're going to make some general improvements to the factory, as well as put a lot of new stuff on the bus to try to use up some resources and produce some stone. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.